Shall we begin?
Why not? Welcome to Frankie Sense and More. It's like she's got a whole lot of goodness for you with a little bit of sass.
Frankie, did you just say...
She sure did. Not to mention, along with...
Whoops.
Join us now as Frankie Picasso and her new co-host mix it up with authors, musicians, and interviews with world-changing people.
Let's begin now.
Okay, let's begin now, because it only makes sense.
Hello, and welcome to Frankie Sense and More. I am your host, Frankie Picasso, and today we have a great show for you. We're going to go to Karachi, Pakistan, and we're going to meet Ayesha Chundrigar. She started a nonprofit, the ACF, nonprofit to rescue dogs and donkeys and cats in Pakistan. Later, Brent Marchand is going to join us. He is the Good Radio Network movie correspondent who comes every month. He's joining us a week early because of the American Thanksgiving next week. So happy Thanksgiving to all of you, because I'm sure we won't be talking to you. But first, we have a good news story to tell you. And as always, Frankie Sense is aligned with the United Nations global goals. And today is goal number 15, life on land. Fred Bai, who has for the past few months been telling you the good news story of the day, is no longer with us. He has learned all he can about live radio where anything can happen, and does often. He's moved on, and we wish him all the best. So here is my good news story today. About 3 days ago in Toronto, and I have to say, this really does make me proud to be Canadian, Toronto subway riders came together to help a man who was late for a job interview. He was a young there was a young Iranian immigrant. Her name was Salma Hamidi, and she said that there was a young man, he was a Latino, who was standing in front of her, and all of a sudden he threw down the skates that were in his hand. He sat down in front of her, holding his head and repeatedly saying, "Oh God." And when a fellow passenger reached out, next to her, there was a Russian man sitting next to him. And he said, "Is everything okay?" And he said, "No, I have a terrible headache and I'm running late for an interview." Well, that's when Salma offered him some Advil. And he thanked her, but he said he had nothing to take it with. Well, a Middle Eastern woman sitting next to him, wearing a hijab, she took a juice box out of her son's backpack, and she gave it to him, telling him that if he takes it now, that he'll feel better by the time he gets to the interview. Now, there's a reason for me telling you everyone's nationalities. But the man then revealed that he was nervous. Well, being an employer, Salma assured him that everything would be okay, and she recommended that he not make any excuses at all, but rather simply say he's late and apologize. Well, when others on the train decided to help him prepare for his interview too, the Russian told him to walk in confidently, tie your hair back, and if you can. A Chinese teenager sitting on the other side of him handed him a hair tie, saying she had 1 million of them. The Muslim woman told him to smile a lot, as people are more willing to trust you if you smile. And when the man got to his station, they all wished him good luck in his interview. And Salma said at the end of this, she goes, "Now, if that isn't the ultimate Canadian experience, short of a beaver walking into a bar holding a jar of maple syrup, I don't know what is." Well, she was so enamored and just so proud to be a Canadian that she wrote to one of the newspapers, and this just went viral across the nation. And it really makes me proud to be a Canadian too, because it really is a Canadian experience. We're all about diversity, multiculturalism, and about, how people can be together. And I think that's what it's all about. Ayesha Chundrigar, who's going to be coming up in a moment, she is a humanitarian, and you will find out more about her just after the break. So stay tuned, stay close, don't go anywhere. We're going to come right back.
Heck no, we're just getting warmed up. Frankie Sense and More will be right back after we pay the bills.
It's words you never heard.
So last night, my husband was laughing as he was reading about the differences between men and women. According to the article, men get single tusks or hiccups more often than women. Everyone knows that women are better at multitasking than men. I'm good at both multitasking and procrastinating, which means right now there are 28 things that I'm putting off until later. What's another word for a person who puts everything off until the last minute? A cunctator. Women blink nearly twice as much as men, and while men can read smaller print than women, women can hear better. In fact, When a woman says, "What?" she heard you. She's just giving you a chance to change what you said.
It's Merging Never Heard.
I'm Carolyn Davidson, and you can have fun challenging your words you never heard vocabulary with my free app, Too Funny for Words.
It's the Fitness Minute with fitness expert Annette Hammond.
To get the most nutrients, is it better to cook vegetables or to eat them raw? The answer is not black and white. Some nutrients in vegetables, like tomatoes, are actually enhanced during the cooking process. A study by Cornell University found that heat increases lycopene levels and makes it easier for the body to absorb this vital antioxidant. But research from Food and Nutrition Science found that raw vegetables contain higher levels of antioxidants. Cooking methods decrease water-soluble nutrients such as vitamin C and can rob vegetables of important nourishment for the body. The bottom line, whether vegetables are cooked or raw, you'll get more benefit and nutrition from the vegetables you eat than the ones you don't. Consuming 5 to 9 servings of vegetables a day is the best approach. For the Fitness Minute, I'm Annette Hammond.
And we're back, and I'm sorry about our little hiccup today, but that's okay because we have a wonderful guest who's going to make it all up to you. Ayesha Chundrigar is my guest today. She's a humanistic psychotherapist. She works pro bono with acid burn survivors, orphans, and those with disabilities. She's a former UK journalist. She's returned to Pakistan in 2013 to pursue her passion for humanitarianism by creating documentaries. And instead, she ended up founding her own nonprofit, the Ayesha Chundrigar Foundation. And she has an animal rescue foundation, which of course, you guys know animals are close to my heart. And I am so thrilled to have met her. Welcome, Ayesha, welcome. And I'm sorry about what happened earlier.
Hi, Frankie. That's all right. Thank you for having me on your show.
Oh, I'm so thrilled. I know that you have your own private practice as well, but the ACF, the Ayesha Foundation, how did this come about for you?
Well, this came about, actually, it was a long time in the making. I've been rescuing animals in Karachi, where I live, since I was a little girl, about 5 years old. So I always said to my mom and dad, to my entire family, that I'm going to have an animal farm one day. And in a country like ours, it's actually it's always, people just think it should stay a dream and it wouldn't actually manifest into a reality. But I decided I'm just going to take the plunge and I'm going to figure it out. So I started the first animal rescue service in the country. And It's actually taken off really well. It was a very big risk. I did not know what I was getting myself into. But so far, so good. It's been tough, but it's happening. And it was something I was always going to do. I mean, when I was little and I used to go to school, and outside my car, I would see a donkey, because we have donkey carts over here as well. And the donkey owners hit the donkeys with wooden sticks and whips and things like that. And it used to physically and emotionally depress me. It used to pain me to such an extent that I can't really explain. And just seeing stray dogs and cats on the street, and there was nowhere where they could go. It was always like, oh, it's stray animals, you can't do anything about it. And I don't understand that, that kind of mentality where you say, oh, you can't do anything, because you can always do something.
Exactly.
So I just thought, what, someone has to do something. So I decided to be that someone, I guess.
Well, that's how it starts, isn't it? Somebody takes the lead, and to talk about, Gandhi, who says, be the change you want to, be in the world, and that's exactly what you've done. And really, that's fantastic. And to, just to quote this brilliant man again, he says that the greatness of a nation and its moral progress can be judged by the way its animals are treated. And I think that's so telling. I love donkeys, and I have adopted 2 donkeys myself. I have Sunshine and Apollo, and they're just adorable. And I'm really so happy that you are looking after them as well. And, to be a humanitarian, I think it does take looking after everything, the animals and the people. And I love how, you look after the people too, Ayesha. Tell us about, or tell the folks about, what you do for the disabled people, and how, you have taken them into your foundation.
What I've done is because I'm a therapist and I work with animals, so I was observing the way animals are. I mean, we have dogs on wheelchairs. If you look at our Facebook page, it's a very active page. You'll see we have dogs. We have we make these makeshift wheelchairs for our dogs over here. This one lady in Karachi, she actually helps me with that. So she makes the wheelchairs, and we get the dogs ready, and we actually we do physiotherapy with our dogs, and we put them on the wheelchairs. And then we have 3-legged dogs. Then we have dogs who have one eye. You know, we have cats who don't have an ear and one eye because someone threw boiling water on them.
Oh my
God. We
God.
have these really crazy, horrible cases of animal abuse. We have puppies whose tails have been cut off. You know, we have all sorts of cases that come in, and they're disabled, but they're so happy. Our 3-legged dogs are some of the happiest, the fastest runners in the shelter are the 3-legged dogs, and the biggest bullies. So, you know, and they don't realize they are disabled. And I love that. I think that is just so incredible that they are so empowered that I thought I need to, you know, animals are the best example or the best medium by which I can show that to humans. And so what I did was I invite people with disabilities from different institutes over here to the shelter. I've actually worked in a lot of them, volunteered in a lot of these institutes when I was younger, when I was in school. I used to do this kind of work all the time, and with orphans, with people with disabilities. So I've invited them all in. I do therapy with acid burn survivors. So I had also employed an acid burn survivor to work over there. And what she said to me was just so powerful. She said to me, you know, because she didn't have, her face was somewhat melted off, and she didn't have an ear or an eye and any hair on her head because her husband had thrown about 4 bottles of acid on her. So she had told me she was melting like a candle, and she used to go out completely wrapped up, and she wouldn't want anyone to see her face. And I worked with her for 2 years, and I said, you know what, why don't you come and try working at the shelter and see what it's like? And you then saw her in jeans and a t-shirt, and she was, you know, working with the animals. And she just said to me one day that, you know, when I go out on the streets, everyone stares at me like I'm a monster. But over here, the animals love me because they don't see what's on the outside. They love me for what they see on the inside. So through that, you can really realize what unconditional love is. And I know it's a very healing experience for a lot of these people who come by who've had very traumatic lives. When you see an animal giving you, because the beauty about animals is that they don't care what you look like, what you do for a living, or anything. They just want to play and have fun and love you and get love back. And it's so simple. They're the simple things in life. So I think that's very healing when you can go back to the basics.
Yes.
What
Let me ask you something. How many acid burn victims are there? I mean, is this really common?
Well, there is a foundation here that actually helps them with reconstructive surgery. So I had got in touch with them to do the therapy for them. There are quite a few, actually, yes, in Karachi, and then in other parts of the country as well. There has been a lot of laws in place now, you know, to prevent these things to happen. But otherwise, previously, it's as easy as buying a bottle of acid for less than $1.
Wow. And why? Yeah, why would a husband why would they choose to disfigure somebody so horribly?
I think it has a lot to do with illiteracy. It has a lot to do with resentment, with hatred, with being very unhappy with yourselves and your situation, because you'll see a lot of this happens in the more lower income areas. So there's a lot of drug abuse over there, alcohol abuse. There's a lot of these sort of issues that go on, and it's mostly the men who disfigure the women. Right. So you'll see a lot of this happening over there. So I mean, every woman, honestly, she has her individual story. I've actually come across a few men who've been victims as well of such trauma. So,
you know, and I have to say, you're absolutely stunning, and it must be very difficult for somebody who's so disfigured to. And I don't say this in a mean way, but just, I mean, you are so beautiful, Ayesha, that you know, when they work with you, they must feel so jealous, maybe. Do you think? Do they ever say anything?
Yeah, that actually does happen. I think that would actually happen with anyone who has a face, who has skin that isn't, melted off, or who has their full face intact. And yes, there has been a lot of that has come up, and we've sort of channeled that into something positive. So we've kind of seen, okay, because I've been very honest, and I've been like, yes, I do look like this. I do have hair on my head. My eyes are there, my lips are there, my nose is there. I look exactly how I look, and it sucks for you. It sucks that you look the way you look, and yes, you do look like a monster. So I've been very honest. I'm not going to lie and say, oh no, but you are beautiful. Just look in the mirror, because that's not being genuine. And I think I took a risk, and I think being genuine, and I think they appreciated that. And then we could actually laugh about it, and it kind of allowed them to embrace what they're like. I mean, I wouldn't say this worked with everybody, but whoever I did work with and who I was honest with, and we spoke like this, I did work. A lot of them come for maybe one session of therapy, and then they would leave because you hit too close to home, because they're not used to talking about their feelings. So sometimes they, it's too much. This is what I've seen with a lot of people here. It's too much to get into feelings. We need to stay on the surface. So the few women who actually ventured forward to try to get to grips with what happened, we have brought this up, and it's once it's out there in the open between the two of us, then we can laugh about it, we can talk about it, and we're more honest about it. So I think that does make a significant difference.
And the animals are certainly just a wonderful friend to have for somebody like that. Like you said, there's no judgment. No judgment. It's just
no judgment whatsoever. Absolutely. And
so,
a lot of
you started your foundation. How did you start to raise your money? It's a nonprofit. So how did you tell people? How did you start to raise money? There's other people listening and they want to do this. Tell them how it started.
Honestly, it started with a Facebook page, and there were 5 people who liked it.
Page, so in case people want to go there and look at it.
I will. In fact, I'll just send it to you. It's called ACF Animal Rescue, or it's the full name of the foundation. So if you just type that in, it'll come up, and you can see all our work on there. So it's a very active Facebook page. In fact, we use it for rescues as well. So I'll give you a brief idea as to what we do. I started this in 2013. So I registered the NGO. Made it legal, did all the paperwork, everything that had to happen, and I honestly didn't know where to go from there. So I knew there was a kind of a shelter. There was a sort of a property that was used as a shelter, but it was abandoned and it wasn't really being used as such. So I went to the people who owned it, and I said, look, I want to run this place for you. And I know a lot of people, whoever I spoke to this about, said you're crazy and, it's never going to happen. You can try, but you'll fail. And what's the point? And I was like, you don't know me. I'm a very stubborn person. If I want something, I get it. So I am like that. I'm quite stubborn. So I took over. I had a few savings when I came back from London. So I used whatever little money I had, and I was working on documentaries at the time. So whatever I got, I would be the one sort of funding the organization at the time. So I had just about 10 dogs, perhaps, and I got a vet who worked with me for free.
Ayesha, we're going to go to a commercial break in just a moment.
Okay.
Let's hold that thought. Karina, maybe you can just tell me how far away we are. But everybody, if you're listening, I don't want you to go away. I want you to stick around and stay tuned for more of the Ayesha Chundrigar Foundation and Saving Animals in Pakistan. I think it's just phenomenal what she's doing. And maybe go to her Facebook page while we're waiting over our commercial break.
Just getting warmed up. Frankie Sense and More will be right back after we pay the bills.
Do you ever wonder if you're the only woman who runs errands in her yoga pants so it will look like she went to the gym? Or how about the only mom who feeds her kids raw cookie dough? Or are you the only one who cooks her family cold cereal for dinner? Do you need more laughter and less loudness? More self-love and less self-loathing? More joy and less judgment? You're not alone. Come to the living room, a place where we get comfy, candid, and confident together. Come seeking sanctuary and leave feeling renewed. We're saving a seat for you. Give yourself some living room today.
It's the Fitness Minute with fitness expert Annette Hammond.
Whether you are a man, woman, boy, or girl, lifting weights is an important component to your exercise program. Livestrong says that challenging your body with different exercises and routines helps keep your workout interesting and effective. Make sure that when you're lifting weights, you are working to fatigue or failure to get the most benefits. When lifting weights, reaching failure means that you could not possibly do one more rep. Your muscle has failed. Fatigue means you can barely do one or two more repetitions and keep your good form. If your workout is too easy and you're not reaching failure or fatigue, it's time to lift heavier weights. Be aware that your form is vital, and reaching fatigue or failure is much more important than hitting a certain number of repetitions. I'm Annette Hammond. Like us on Facebook at Fitness Minute with Annette Hammond.
And we're back. It's Frankie Sense and More. I am your host, Frankie Picasso, and today my guest is Ayesha. She is the founder of the ACF. That's the Ayesha Chundrigar Foundation, and it's a nonprofit that helps rescue animals in Karachi, Pakistan. So we were talking just before we went to break about how you started and how you're beginning to raise some money and how other people might do that. How large are you now?
Okay, all right. Well, I'd like to say this much. We've been very, very lucky because when I started, it was almost like... Hello?
Hello? Okay, I can hear you.
Yes?
I think you're good now. Go ahead, start again.
Yes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I was just saying, when I started, I thought there was going to be no one to help me, but the generosity of our people in Pakistan is... somebody to start this. And I started this alone, but ever since I started 3 years ago, there have been so many people who've come forward to help, and that's the only way we've got from one place to another.
Now, is it mostly younger people that help you, or do you find that there's older people?
It is actually all sorts of people. It's everybody. I mean, I have come across so many people, and it's mostly private donors. So there are people who are CEOs of major corporations over here, and they've got in touch with me separately, and they've said, we want to help out. Although we don't really fit into a lot of the CSR programs that corporate companies have over here, but people themselves who work at these companies, who own these companies, have come forward and said, we would like to help you. And then we have so many individuals in Pakistan who love animals, and they will go out of their way to come forward and help. And it's just because, maybe I've just provided that platform for people, but it's the donors who kept this whole project going. And I'm so surprised because so many people have come forward to help out. So I think the biggest thing that I would tell people if anyone would like to start something like this, it's about being transparent with your work and being very honest about what you do. So I think, when I post on the Facebook page, the way I started getting people interested was that I would post a picture of a dog who was in a very bad condition, and then I'd post an after picture when the dog had been treated and, was doing a lot better. So people knew the money was going to good use. Mm-hmm. So I think that's the biggest thing.
Are you working with one vet or many vets?
We have a team. We have 2 assistants. We have an accountant. We have a lawyer who helps us pro bono with different legal matters and all. And then we have 2 drivers. We have 2 ambulances. We've just we're building a beautiful, huge shelter over here right now, 2,000 square yards, which again the donors have helped us with. We wouldn't be able to do this without any of the people who are helping us. So it's gone from one vet and me to a team of about 15 people.
That's
so
fantastic.
Far.
Good for you. And not only are you rescuing animals and taking them and helping them with their injuries, but you also have a spay neuter campaign so that
we do.
They don't continue to breed and have this problem in your country.
Absolutely,
and really.
that's what we. Yeah, and actually a lot of people are really good over here because people get in touch with us and they say, we have, these many stray dogs in our area. Can you please come and pick them up and, spay, neuter, and release? So that's what we do. So we will pick up, because there are shootings of stray dogs in Pakistan. It happens quite often. But because now people have become so aware and that there's a place where they can go to sort of help out these animals. So now there's hope in the country. And when there's hope in the country, honestly, Pakistanis can do anything. And they're really good like that. So they'll come forward, they'll say, come and pick up animals, dogs from this area. Can you please spay and neuter them? We pick up maybe 10 dogs at a time. And currently we're not doing that because we're building our new place. So until the new place is not ready, we've stopped that for the last 3 months. Otherwise, it's been a very active program that we're doing. So we're going to restart that again in December when the new shelter is up and running. But what we do is we'll pick up the dogs, we'll spay them, we'll neuter them, we'll keep them for 2 weeks for their post-operative care, and then we will tag them and we will release them into dog-friendly areas. And by dog-friendly, I mean that we'll make deals with, the tea shops over there. And different little, the little shops we have in Karachi, basically, where they sell food and all. And we'll make a deal with them to give the dogs scraps and and give the dogs water and let them live over there. Because stray dogs, from what I've seen, they like being open. They like that vagabond lifestyle. And a lot of them don't like being confined to a shelter because they want to be open. They want to go around. So if they're in a safe space and we keep an eye on them, in general, we know where all our released dogs are actually. So, I mean, it works out quite well in that way.
Are they
so
tagged?
That's how
are they tagged or have some sort of a chip in them?
We tag them and we also put collars on them. So we have these bright red collars. This program is still fairly new in the city and people are getting used to it. But I mean, slow and steady, it has picked up quite a bit. And, we are advertising that when we do release an animal, it is in this area, and the people of that area know that these animals are not aggressive, they don't have rabies. In fact, till today, we've rescued over 1,000 dogs, and I have never come across a dog with rabies in my life. Well, so far. So I don't know where this rabies thing is, but I haven't come across any dog with rabies so far. But, this is just to tell people.
Do you find that there's people who still want to adopt them too?
Yes, we actually have a lot of people over here who are willing to take in dogs and cats. And we actually had a woman come to us recently and she said, I would like to adopt a kitten who needs help, who has some kind of disability and who needs a home. And she took home a kitten who had a fractured ankle and who would always walk with a limp. But she took her home and she actually sent me a picture recently, and the kitten is doing really well. So, we do have people like that who come along, and if we post pictures of animals who are severely ill or something, we have our regular donors who just without even asking me, they'll just put money into the foundation account and they'll say, I've sent this much money for this dog, please take care of it. So I think it's more about people start having faith in you, and I think the biggest thing is they start trusting you. So I make it a point to have that relationship with my donors and to keep all the work very transparent. So that's why the Facebook page is very active in that regard. Just so if anybody does give money, it's my responsibility to use it the way they expect me to use it.
Right. And the animal abuse, do people get charged at all with animal abuse?
No, not in Karachi, at least. It doesn't happen. I was recently told this that there is a fine that you need to pay, and your donkey is taken away from you in Punjab. I heard that this happens in another province, but in Karachi, there is no such law or anything. So, I mean, the only way it's people are doing something now is that they know that if they find an animal who has been abused, they can give us a call and we can come and pick up the animal and we'll fix up the animal. And there is nothing as such right now.
Aside from beating the donkey, I know we're here at the Donkey Sanctuary. One of the biggest abuses for them is that their feet aren't clipped because they need to have that done.
Yes. And a lot of the donkeys we find, actually, they all have the same injury. They all have a broken ankle. because the load that is put on their back, it's put in such a terrible way. Because if you see, I mean, we worked with a lot of donkeys. We also do donkey camps where we go around Karachi and we give free medical treatment, food and water to donkeys in different areas. And we educate the owners a little bit as to how to take care of their donkey. So it's become a very popular thing that we're doing over here. And donkey owners are very receptive. So, but what we notice with the disabled donkeys is that they all have their ankle broken in a certain way. And that's just because of overloading. And, and then it just gets to a point where they end up collapsing because they can't handle the load. And to be honest, the donkey owner is to blame, but because there is no, they are illiterate, most of them, they don't understand the concept, and there's no one there to guide them about it either. There are no laws in place as such, and there's no one to give them a guideline as to this is how you do it. So I think this is where ACF comes in, where we're also trying to explain to them that if your donkey is your only source of money and it helps you in every way as your
Absolutely.
job, you need to take care of your donkey like that as
equipment. Well. Let alone
Exactly.
a live animal. It's a piece of business machinery for them or equipment that needs to be looked after.
So this is how we explain it to them, and it seems to be working. Slow and steady, it's a very slow progress, but just recently we had a story of this one dog who had this massive maggot wound on his back. It's huge, and our anchors over here. So the anchor guy. So I forgot what I was saying. Right. So I was saying. So one of our tanker guys, he actually gave my manager a call to come and rescue this dog. And this tanker guy was illiterate, a water tanker guy basically. He brings water. He comes and fills our tank. And he does not like animals, especially dogs. But he saw this dog getting beaten up, and he stopped the dog from getting beaten up. The story was actually picked up by the local newspaper here as well. And after we posted this, and he called our manager, who immediately went and picked up the dog, and the dog was at our shelter then. So, I'm just saying it's a very small example, but now the general public over here is also becoming very aware of animal abuse and how it's a really terrible thing. And there is a place where you can send the animal to be okay.
That's wonderful. I applaud you for the work that you're doing. I really do, and I think it's incredible, and it's heartwarming to know that there's people like you in the world who really want to make a difference and have stepped up to make that difference. We are going to go to another commercial break in just a moment, but if you want to see Ayesha's Facebook page, you can go, it's her name, or go to the Good Radio Network on Facebook, and you can see a poster of her with her logo in her Facebook site.
Heck no, we're just getting warmed up. Frankie Sense and More will be right back after we pay the bills.
Close your eyes and imagine living your life without limits. Where would you go? Who would you meet? What would you do? During an Uncover Your Hidden Genius session, you will discover what's keeping you from living your life with purpose, passion, and fulfillment of your potential. You'll get a clear vision of the steps you need to take to uncover your hidden genius so that you can live a life without limits. Sessions can be done over the phone, Skype, or in person. Find out more at www.joycebufordempowers.com or by calling 903-287-0747.
It's the Fitness Minute with fitness expert Annette Hammond.
When you lift weights, you want to attain significant results. Remind yourself to slow it down. A common exercise mistake is to rush through your strength training exercises. When you zip through your routine, you will end up using momentum instead of muscle power, and you will not achieve the results you are after. By zooming through your weightlifting, you are also at risk of getting an injury, whether it is torn connective tissue or muscles. Shape Magazine recommends that you take 6 seconds to perform each repetition, 2 seconds to lift the weight, and 4 seconds to lower it. Since you have gravity to help you lower the weight, you need to slow down even more in order to give your muscles a sufficient challenge. Slow it down and see your results speed up. For the Fitness Minute, I'm Annette Hammond. Visit our Facebook fan page at Fitness Minute with Annette Hammond.
And we're back. Welcome again to Frankie Sense and More. We are coming back to you. My guest again is Ayesha Chundrigar from the ACF Animal Rescue. And speaking about animal rescue, Ayesha, why don't you tell us about the rescue that you do have? Okay. Well, we're just going to get Ayesha back, and coming up after her is Brent Marshall. He's our Good Radio Network movie correspondent. We're going to be talking about a couple of movies with him. I don't know if you've seen the new movies yet, but there are there's some good ones coming out and coming up for over, I guess, the Thanksgiving season. Brent usually comes on at the end of the month, but he's coming on a little bit early so that you guys can, and me and everybody else, well, not me because I already had Thanksgiving. I'm in Canada. We have Thanksgiving in October when there's actually a harvest. But you will be able to celebrate your wonderful Turkey Day next week and maybe take your family to the movies. And he's going to tell us about a few of those movies that are out now. And there you go. My producer is trying to get Ayesha back from the ACF Animal Rescue.
Hi, I think I'm here.
Okay.
Yes, I'm back. I'm back.
So you were going to tell us about your rescue service.
Yes, I don't know where I left off, actually.
I don't think you started. If from my end, you didn't start.
Okay. I guess I was just talking to myself. I was just saying that we have a very active Facebook page, and we have a hotline number where people give us a call and they'll message us on the Facebook page, and our rescue service will go all over Karachi picking up injured animals, cats, dogs, donkeys, eagles, all of them, like basically the stray population of the city. Because the point for me is to help those who are forgotten in society, and they are the ones who are forgotten the most. So we pick them up and we bring them back and we fix them up, and then we keep a lot of them. The paralyzed dogs get physiotherapy and wheelchairs. The three-legged dogs stay with us. The blind cats and blind dogs stay with us. They actually get very used to the shelter. So our rescue service is actually very active. So all the animals you'll see on the Facebook page, I hope everyone goes and sees it. And the ones you'll see at the shelter as well, they are all at the shelter because people have called us to come and pick up the animal and save its life. And then people have donated money for us to save that animal as well. So it's kind of a joint effort. It's honestly not just me. It's a lot of people doing it together. And that's how ACF is actually moving forward.
That's fantastic. Ayesha, please, everybody, go to the Facebook page, the ACF Animal Rescue Facebook page. You'll find her there. I'm going to post it on the Good Radio Network website, www.thegoodradionetwork.com website. By tomorrow, you'll be able to find her as well as the podcast of this show. She'll be there. And we wish you all the best. All the best.
Thank you
so much again for all that you're doing for the animals. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me on your show. I really appreciate that.
Thank you so much for being our guest today. Coming up next, Brent Marshall is with us. He is the Good Radio Network movie correspondent, and he, as I said, is here this week instead of next week because next week he'll be having Turkey Day. Hi, Brent.
Hello.
How are ya?
Good. How are you?
Good. So
I'm
what
back.
movies are we going to be talking about today?
Sorry?
The movies?
Hello?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm here.
Yep. I asked you what movies we're going to hear about today.
Oh, having some wonderful films today. The new science fiction movie Arrival, which just opened this past weekend, which is utterly terrific. Really can't recommend it high enough. Has a lot more to do than just science fiction. Has a lot to do with understanding our place in the universe and our relation to how our reality arises. Very thoughtful, very moving, beautifully filmed, very suspenseful. Can't recommend it highly enough.
I saw that movie last weekend, and I did really love the movie. Can you hear me?
It's really getting a lot of buzz.
You know what I'm disappointed at? And it has nothing to do with the movie, really. It has to do with humanity and why when we think about having visitors who don't come in with their guns blazing, our response to that is to go to them with our guns raised.
Yes.
So disturbing to me that that's our first response. I mean, if they were here to kill you, they'd be shooting at you or killing you. Like, if they're not doing anything, like, why can't you give them the benefit of the doubt and go with arms, out instead of guns out?
Oh, exactly. Well, I've heard some UFO experts have supposedly said that's part of the reason why they haven't made themselves more visible to us, because they're more afraid of us than we are of them. They sort of look upon us as the kids with guns.
We're horrible. We're horrible. It makes me so ashamed.
But this one's really worth seeing because it speaks on so many different levels.
And I love Amy Adams anyway.
Yes. Yeah, and she's terrific once again. Another movie that's somewhat in the same vein in terms of helping us understand our place in the world and how our reality emerges is the action-adventure film Doctor Strange, which has been very quietly receiving a lot more attention than I ever expected it would, beyond just the action-adventure comic book hero fans. They certainly will love it, but people who are interested in seeing something a little more substantive that's also got an action theme to it, I think will really like this picture a lot. Terrific special effects, lots of great humor, very thoughtful material, and it's all done in a context that gives you a rollicking thrill ride on top of it. So that's another one that I really recommend highly. On a more personal level, a movie that's been very quietly getting a lot of attention is a film called Moonlight, which independent production has to do with it's a 3-part story telling the odyssey of a young man who is growing up both African American and gay. And it's in many ways being seen as kind of a groundbreaking film for that particular community because it's a subject that has not always been addressed very deeply or very seriously within the African American film community. This is a really thoughtful, powerful, sensitive, and yet very candid look at that particular situation, and I really can't recommend it highly enough. And somewhat similar to that, there's also the film Loving, which has just opened up, which chronicles the actual story of a interracial couple that took on laws prohibiting interracial marriage back in the American South during the 1950s. It's interesting in that it's a really big story, but it's brought down to a very personal level, and features terrific performances by the two leads, showing that these are just two people who wanted to be able to get married, live their lives, have a family. So what if they were of different races? But, the views back at that time, it was not seen very favorably in a number of the states in the American South. And this tells their story about how they ended up taking on the system to get their right just to be married to be legitimized.
Yeah, I mean, that's a powerful story. And,
it really is.
A long time coming, really. And still, there's places where it's not accepted or acceptable.
Well, it's interesting, too, because actually that particular kind of story was cited as one of the keys to opening up, like, the gay marriage issue in the U.S. as well. Saying, well, at one time you used to prohibit people from different races from marrying. Why should you prohibit people from the same sex marrying as well? So it's really a groundbreaking story, groundbreaking film as well. A film that's currently wrapping up its run in theaters, getting ready to go to DVD very shortly, is a delightful Swedish comedy called A Man Called Ove, which has to do with an elderly person trying to discover whether or not they still have a purpose in life, whether they have a place in the world. When everything starts falling apart for him, he thinks maybe he should just cash it in and go join his deceased wife. But every time he tries to commit suicide, something always gets in the way that keeps him from doing it.
That's funny. I'm sure that's a really funny movie.
So that's one we're seeing as well. And the last one is a movie that's on DVD now. It's a joint Polish and French co-production called The Innocents, which I don't want to spoil too much about it, but basically it's a story that takes place in a convent in Poland at the end of World War II, where a number of the nuns mysteriously end up being pregnant. And
that's good.
Yeah, but the thing is, there's a deeper purpose to what the pregnancies are all about, and I won't spoil the movie.
No, and this is on DVD already.
Yes, it is.
Okay. All right, that sounds great. I love it. When I think back about all the movies that have come out recently, and what's going to be coming up for Christmas? Is there some good ones going to come out for that season as well?
There's a lot of movies coming up. A new science fiction movie called The Passengers with Jennifer Lawrence. Mm-hmm. A new spiritual metaphysical outlook film called Collateral Beauty with Will Smith.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Yeah. There's the musical La La Land, which looks delightful.
Oh, yeah. That's great.
The family drama Manchester by the Sea, which is a leading contender for possibly Best Actor and Best Picture.
Who's that? Who's the lead in that?
Casey Affleck, and his co-star is Michelle Williams.
Yeah.
And they're both being touted as Oscar contenders for that. So,
wow.
So there really is a lot of stuff that's getting ready to come out, and I'm hoping that the quality level keeps up to what this year's award season has been like so far, because it's really been quite good.
So far, you and I both love the movies, and we go see a lot of movies. What would you say your favorite movie has been in 2016 so far?
I would say Arrival. If not Arrival, Moonlight. Those, I think, are the two really strongest films I've seen this year.
Wow, interesting.
And they're both out now, so go see them.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. Well, this has been a challenging day, challenging show for us at the Good Radio. We lost our internet, and we lost our guests and all kinds of things. But I want to thank each and every one of you for sticking around and for continuing to listen to us each and every week. And Brent, we always enjoy having you come and talk to us about the movies that are going to be coming up. And I do wish you a happy Thanksgiving and a wonderful Turkey Day with you and yours. And we're going to see you back, I think, on December the 8th to talk about the Christmas movies.
Yes.
And that's going to be a wonderful time because, it's a time when families get to go and see movies together, enjoy, watching videos at home or going to the actual theater. So.